Well, welcome everybody, and a good afternoon indeed. Welcome here to Paul Ricard. It's the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. It returns this time to the Paul Ricard Singular Castellet, and here at the French circuit we're going to be witnessing, I'm sure, a big hefty title fight. This being our sixth round already of the championship here around this 5.822 kilometre circuit. Of course, 30 minutes plus one lap of racing beckons us here, with the championship fight still very much in full swing. A surprise package, though, that would take pole position after qualifying. It would be Alessandro Giusti who would go ahead to take that phenomenal result and looking to prosaically rise once again, as he has done so already this season here this weekend. Of course, clinching his very first pole as well this time around, and will certainly be a huge prospect in line for G4 Racing. Stepped in, of course, from the F4 FFSA Academy with 2 wins and 5 podiums, would eventually become champion of that series in French F4, and has now since gone on from that to now land himself a pole position here at Paul Ricard. A home track, certainly for this man, Alessandro Giusti. The Frenchman will no doubt celebrate that one. Was jubilant in our pre-race interview just after post-qualifying, and he's going to be joined up on the front row by the man who was fastest in Group A. Martinius Stenshorn, the Norwegian, lines up on the front row of the grid in second place, and he'll look to get a good launch as well, continue his great rise that he has had this season. A return here for MP Motorsport this weekend, donning the black nose cones in remembrance of their driver Delano Van Hoff, who sadly passed away after the Spa race, and certainly here they run in the memory of him. And certainly those black nose cones will remain a feature for this weekend and the rest of the season as well. Tim Tramnitz lines up as well on grid position 4, alongside that of Sami Megatunif, who lines up in 3rd for MP, with the RAce GP lineup on the same row, but in the top 4, 2 cars sharing the front 2 rows. Andrea Kimi Antonelli lines up in grid position 5. Not the best qualifying performance for Prema, but certainly they'll tend to fare better in terms of the race pace, and that was certainly what Rafael Camara was on about when I spoke to him earlier on in the weekend. So do not count out Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He'll sure to deliver a clinic. Here is the starting grid. Alessandro Giusti lines up on pole position, alongside him Martinius Stenshorn for RAce GP. Sami Megatunif lines up in 3rd with Tim Tramnitz in 4th. Andrea Kimi Antonelli lines up alongside fellow Frenchman Esteban Masson, who has performed valiantly this weekend as well. Laurens van Hoopen in 7th, Victor Bernier in 8th place, Michael Belov in 9th, Rafael Camara in 10th as well, with Kaz Havercourt lining up in 11th, Maya Verk as well in 12th place. Nikhil Bora in 13th, with Santiago Ramos in 14th place, Tom Leben in 15th, Owen Tangavelu for Trident in 16th, Lorenzo Flusha in 17th place, Roman Belinsky lines up for Trident as well in 18th place, just behind his teammate Owen Tangavelu. Marcus Amand in 19th as well, with Matthias Agazetta in 20th, Joshua Dirks, the Paraguayan, in 21st, Kirill Small alongside him in 22nd, Charlie Wirtz in 23rd, with Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 24th place. And in 25th, Matteo Capietto lines up in behind those, alongside him, Joshua Dufek as part of Van Amersfoort. Lucas Medina lines up in 27th with Niels Kuhlen in 28th. Levente Ravesh in 29th with Giovanni Maschio in 30th place. 31st place went to newcomer Pierre-Alexandre Prevost, who lines up for G4 Racing in 31st place, with Enzo Scianti alongside him in 32nd. Ivan Klemenko also making his Formula Regional European Championship debut this time around as well, in place of the now retired Alexander Partyshev. So there we have it, folks. Those are the drivers looking to get set for our first race of the weekend. 2 to bring you across this weekend as well. The cars will eventually get set to run out on their formation lap, and it will be the G4 Racing car of Alessandro Giusti. Didn't have a very easy weekend because his car was tipped upside down during practice 2 over the course of the weekend as well. Unfortunately coming together with Enzo Scianti, but it's been an amazing fight back from the G4 Racing team to get Giusti's car to the forefront in what has been a stellar display in qualifying, and only in his rookie campaign as well. So 2 rookies line up on the front row of the grid, including that of Martinius Stenshorn, who is alongside him and our current championship leader coming into the weekend too. So there we have it, the cars now leaving the grid spots, and it's all down to the drivers now, just warming up the tyres. Of course, degradation quite high here, temperatures reaching an incredible 50 degrees out on track, and the air itself 30 plus degrees as well, which adds to the certainly to the spiciness of the affair. Certainly up at the front end though, Giusti has certainly got plenty in his locker to certainly harness, and what a race win would mean to the young man as well here in his home country, and plenty of other stellar French performances as well, Sami Megatunif being one of them. fellow Frenchman to that of Alessandro Giusti, representing the MP Motorsport team, who in their hardships in recent weeks, off the back of the tragedy around that of Delano Van 't Hoff, coming back here with the new black nose cones in order to celebrate his life. And obviously the team hold him in very high esteem, as you would expect, and obviously thoughts are with the team and his family here at this point. And Sami Megatunif on the precipice of perhaps bringing back a stellar result for the team as well. On their return, a win would mean the world, and Megatunif is more than capable of achieving that. Victor Bernier also getting himself in the top 10 for MP Motorsport as well. 8th place, just ahead of Michael Belov. Rafael Camara down in 10th in behind those two, who had a reasonable run up at Mugello as well. And arguably one of his better weekends of the season for Rafael Camara. But he himself also taking a race win back in race 1 at Spa, and that was his first podium since that of race 1 at Imola at the very start of the season, that race being won by Martini Stenshorn, who has since got on to do 2 race wins back-to-back at Hungaroring, then took the opening race win at Mugello, and followed that up with a P3 podium visit as well in race 2. But Martini Stenshorn certainly the driver to beat. But the driver standing certainly very close up at the sharp end, and it will continue to be that way as well. 154 points currently going to that of Martini Stenshorn coming into the weekend. And just in behind that, Andrea Kimi Antonelli on 152, only a mere 2 points between the two top talents here in this series. Of course, both contesting in Italian F4. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, a current champion of that series as well, and has gone on to win other series to boot too. He certainly is a formidable opponent, and he'll certainly try and marshal his way up the field. Has a little bit of work to do. He's got Tim Tramnitz along, well, in front of him here at this point. Remember, those two came together at Barcelona, where Tim Tramnitz would take the back-to-back race wins during that weekend too. But the brilliance of Paul Ricard, it allows for very competitive racing, and that's what I'm sure we can expect here from these cars driving these junior single-seaters, building careers of their own as well. We've seen many stellar performers certainly make their way up into Formula 3. Of course, Gabriele Bortoleto being one of them, who currently leads that championship, and many others too that have gone onwards. Of course, Dino Beganovic doing exactly the same, and Leonardo Fonaroli as well, to name a few. But plenty more waiting in the wings. Could Alessandro Giusti be one of them as well? A pole position, a maiden pole this season. Could he add a race win to that locker as well? Alongside him there, you can see Martini Stenshorn. In behind, Sami Megatunif. Tim Tramnitz alongside him. It's an RSGP double act in the top 4, with an Andrea Kimi Antonelli Prema in 5th place as well. Esteban Masson, watch out for him. He could get a big start as well, as we now await the lights to go red. Keep it with us, folks. The rest of the cars now lining up at the very back. We will wait for the safety car then to come through in behind them too. And we'll wait the green flags as well to be waved. And let's get ready to race here at Paul Ricard. Le Castellet, stunning under the sunlight. The paddocks watching on, the fans in their abundance in the grandstands too. Keep your eyes peeled. Plenty of cars in this scrap as now the green flags do get waved. Here come the lights, 3rd light, 4th light, and the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. It looked like the Martini Stenshorn got a good launch, but Sami Megatunif getting a better rise indeed. The MP Motorsport now looking to immediately take 2nd place away from the Norwegian. They headed towards turn 1. Tim Tramnitz also looking down the inside as well. Megatunif up into 2nd place. Tim Tramnitz also looking to charge as well. The 2 Tridents also in behind. That's Belinsky, who's trying to make his way through alongside his teammates as well. Nikhil Bora up in the mix, as well as Owen Tangavello, who's trying to fight his way through too. Victor Bernier has also had a busy start as he tries to marshal off the attacks as well. But Megatunif getting the launch he would have wanted, gets ahead of Martini Stenshorn for that 2nd place. Giusti leads though at this point, has got a 6/10 of a second gap out in front as well. Further back, Andrea Kimi Antonelli still in the mix too. We've got the 2 Van Amersfoort cars as well lodged together. Further back, the Ardents also looking to try and make some moves too, as you can now see them make their way down the Mistral straight. There you can see Stenshorn right in the rear wing there of Megatunif. Tramnitz going defensive. In comes Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Outside line now for the Italian. Has to take the escape road there, and I'm sure I'm sure that won't stand. He's got to try and perhaps give that back. 28 minutes and 50 seconds of racing ahead, and indeed Kimi moving along to the inside, I think allowing Tramnitz to go through. As a consequence, it got very close between them heading through the Mistral chicane, as we see the RPMs as well moving along in the background. There you can see Belinsky being joined certainly in that midfield. He's got certainly his teammate Owen Tangavello in amongst him. Tom Leben also in the mix there as well. Lorenzo Flusha trying to jump the pair of them. I think he has done as well. Flusha has actually gained a few places, 14th now in the classification. As we now see them rise through now this latter sector. There's a Santalot car right in the mix down there too. Of course, though, it's Giusti out in front and has led brilliantly from the get-go. Mega Tunif now, 7/10 away. And as they all settle down now into their positions, a few drivers now trying a few zealous overtakes, as now we're seeing already Rafael Camara getting into the mix. A Santalot car running wide as a result as well. It might have been Esteban Masson, I think, taking the escape road there, as they now peel their way down the next straight before starting the second lap here in this race. It's Giusti who leads, Mega Tunif in second. In behind then, you've got Martinius Stenshorn there as well, joined by his teammate as well, Tim Tramnitz, who've got a very, very good start as well. And there you see Esteban Masson fighting back immediately now against that of the cars behind him. Of course, he ran a little wide on the escape heading out of turn 15, but recovering against the fight now as Maya Verk comes into close, certainly close contests with Kaz Havercourt as they make their way through now this particular sector. Lorenzo Flusha around the outside as well. Through goes Flusha, outside line, Belinsky in the mix of all this, as is Nikhil Bora as well. There's a car off, 2 cars off. Goodness me. Car number 28 off as well, and that is Provost as well. In his first start has unfortunately come to an end. And was that Enzo Scianti with him as well? Goodness me. And I'm sure, given the debris that's out on track, that could lead to a safety car, and it does. A safety car here. Incredible moment, certainly. They came together, and yes, it definitely looks like, oh, it's Niels Coulin, folks. Niels Coulin, unfortunately, coming unstuck. It wasn't Scianti. It looked like Provost was in that as well. I thought it was 28, it was actually 68. I do apologise. It was indeed Niels Coulin. Really unfortunate there. Here's the actual replay of the moment. And that's in fact Charlie Wirtz, I think, who has gone off further back there. Of course, representing the ART team and coming unstuck in there. Oh, heavy collision. Yes, it Niels Coulin. Definitely coming together. It's quite a coming together as well. And that was indeed Enzo Scianti, who he came together with too. But looks okay, he's out of the car. That's the important thing, obviously, making sure that the drivers come out and the marshals there just marshalling him off the track as well. Just directing him to the right, to the place where he needs to go. Obviously imperative that they work actively to make sure the track is clear. But there will be some debris out there, so it's all down to the safety car now to control the pace of these cars. As we now see Giusti now make his way down through towards turn 1. A mega moment, though, at the start. An amazing start from Sami Megatunif. I want to give him huge credit for getting the getaway as sharply as he did, getting himself ahead there of Martinius Stenshorn, who has certainly made a habit of having great starts himself, the Norwegian. He's been stellar at it, in fact. So it's a pretty rare issue for Stenshorn. And once he's ahead now, Megatunif can just look forward, and he will have, obviously, the push to pass at his disposal. They do, of course, have 15 seconds of time to use on that. 5 times they can use it. As Enzo Scianti indeed has a new front wing changed on the front of his car, obviously representing that of the Monolite team. Still chasing their first points this season as well. And it looks like they're going to tow the car back to the pit lane. And I think Niels Coulin is going to be in charge of directing that as well. So no crane able to be used at this point now as we see the cars make their way through. There's Santiago Ramos, who in fact went fastest of anybody in collective test 1, and has been a consistent performer in terms of qualifying itself, but not having, should we say, necessarily his strongest qualifying performance and indeed start to this race, but currently sits in 16th place ahead of Marcus Amand and in behind Nikhil Bora, and he'll be looking to try and get the tyres ready and raring to go for when we have the restart after the safety car. Going back to Giusti, obviously an F4 champion who is no stranger to collecting race wins in single-seaters, but since this is his first official trip in this car, obviously classifies as a rookie. Very much like the fact that Martini Stenshorn as well. Sami Megatunev, who is experienced in this championship himself, marking his return this weekend as well. In fact, Megatunev, with several race wins under his disposal, as well as actually one in French F4 himself, taking 8 podiums, finishing P4 in the 2020 championship. And of course, since then has performed in the Formula Regional Asian Championship in 2022, also achieving a podium in Formula Regional European Championship in 2022. Had a win this season in the Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship this season too, as the safety car is declared to be coming in this lap, so we will await for it to come on in and we'll have the restart. It's all down to Alessandro Giusti to control the pace as we now end yet another lap. We've still got 22 minutes and 57 seconds, plus 1 lap to come. We always have plus 1 lap after the depletion of the time. And it's down to Giusti now to take them through, as you can now see the cars back to a crawl. You just see there in the background Megatunev just getting his tyres warm, just watching all over the rear there of Alessandro Giusti. Martini Stenshorn in behind those as well, with Tramnitz in 4th. Victor Bernier getting a lovely launch as well, back to 7th place in this classification, as though they look to get the restart back underway. And they'll have 22 minutes of racing by the time they exit the final corner as well, and make their way down the long straight towards turn 1. There is Giusti, there's Megatunev, as they now hurtle their way down the straight, and green flags are now being waved, and it's pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now, and Giusti certainly will lead the way. Megatunev in behind him as well. Martini Stenshorn also lining up too. There you see Tramnitz moving in behind that of Stenshorn, looking for each way possible to make the necessary move, to make the overtake that he so desires in order to advance his cause. Wasn't able to quite do it. Tramnitz still hovering all over his teammates, as now we see it coming together as Ramos now moves on up. A successful move indeed, as he now challenges Marcus Amand. Amand now unable to break past him, the Sauber Academy driver, who tried to force a move indeed on Santiago Ramos. Ramos shutting the door almost instantly at that point as they come together again, and Marcus Amand has managed to catch him back and makes his way back through. Incredible, retakes 16th place. Incredible, tenacious performance here from the young Frenchman. Met up with him last time out at Mugello, and was certainly said to me that he can do a lot better for his team this season. He's certainly showing what he's capable of, making some really serious moves such as that as well. Victor Bernier also hovering all over the back there as we see the cars come together yet again. Laurens van Hoopen, who's right in the midst of all this as well, has got Nick de Vries in his corner this weekend as well. They've been busy chatting away, trying to assess his race. Of course, Nick de Vries coming off the back of his run in Formula 1 and able to impart lots of wisdom upon the driver for ART, as we now see them make their way through this next right-hander and now cruise towards the next Bousset right-hander once again as well. Andrea Kimi Antonelli just ahead of Laurens van Hoopen, as you can see the ART getting closer and closer in behind that of the Prema. We spoke to the team boss at ART as well. He had no illusions. Obviously this has been one of their more trickier seasons, but they have got the ability to come straight back. And certainly Laurens van Hoopen, who showed a good level of pace, certainly at the start of the season, certainly in pre-season. He knows what he's capable of, and he certainly is capable of big results here at Paul Ricard, as he now looks to send it down the inside. Now Laurens van Hoopen on Andrea Kimi Antonelli. I think he caught Antonelli by surprise as well, as they head out of the final corner at turn 15. And they'll now make their way down through towards turn 1 as well. Antonelli doing well to stay in charge of his position. We've got another fight further back involving the Santalot car of Esteban Masson. Maya Verk trying to get herself into the midst of this scrap as well. Goes around the outside, a brilliant move from Maya Verk. Incredible, heading out of turn 2 and turn 3. And managing to move her way onwards and up the field. And the rookie, who's currently rookie placement P3 here in this race, has now advanced the cause into the top 10 of the overall classification as well. As we now see Laurens van Hoopen makes his way through the first sector. They're now in the second sector now. And we'll head down the long straight where they can utilise the push-to-pass system. There, of course, Rafael Kamara currently sat in 9th, with Maya Verk now in behind. The gap between Verk and Kamara still within a second, just over 8/10 of a second at this point as well. As we now see them make their way through, Giusti still leads them on through. Megatunev in second, Stenshorn watching all over the rear. Look at this as well. Kamara trying to fight his way through as well. Again, another off track indeed as they come together. And that's Michael Belov, I think he's trying to scrap with. Further up, of course, trying to harness that P8 place. I think he might have done it as well, has he? No, not quite. Still got to try and marshal the placement back in as they come together further back. Marcus Amand again trying to prosaically rise, trying to take the outside line through Scene Corner. Incredible from Marcus Amand on Owen Tangavelu, and moves past him for 15th place. And he's got another Trident car to deal with, that being Nikhil Bora as well. So trying to launch a charge indeed against the pair of them. As we see Lorenzo Flusha chasing after that Santalot car as well. That is, of course, Flusha and Masson in 12th and 11th spot. There, of course, as well, we look further down at Victor Bernier. There we have another coming together as well. Maya Verk is not relenting whatsoever and is now giving chase here this time on the car in front of her, and that being Rafael Kamara. So she fancies to go at the Prema here as they make their way down towards turn 1. Alessandro Giusti now with the fastest lap of the race. So 17 minutes and 40 still to go, and still leads this dramatic encounter that we have had here. Megatunif in second, just within a second behind, as well as Martinius Stenshorn, who's going to look to recover here at this point, try and get himself levied ahead of Megatunif, but it will take a little bit of work. Now they've got the Mistral straight to take. Antonelli, just see him in behind Lawrence Van Hoopen, who has asked a few questions of the young Italian. Then we see Maya Verk as well further back, who's chasing after Rafael Kamara. That, of course, for that 9th place out on track. There's Van Hoopen, Victor Bernier, Michael Belov as well in the mix of all this. Rafael Kamara then in behind those with Maya Verk, and now we're seeing again Lorenzo Flusha under pressure. Well, certainly not under pressure that much, because he just passed Esteban Masson heading through the outset of the Mistral chicane. So it's another place gain this time for Lorenzo Flusha. And Esteban Masson, despite having the impressive practice time that he has certainly set over the weekend, was fastest in collective test 2. It just seems to have come slightly undone for the young man. He's lost 6 places since the start of this race. So a credit to him. Maya Verk, in fact, gaining 2 places since the start, after beginning in 12th, and has done so well to gain those as well. Flusha has gained an almighty 6 spots. Kaz Havercourt as well, losing out on 2. There we see the cars, they're making their way through the latter point now. There's Megatunif. 2nd place in behind there is Stenshorn as well, championship leader, with teammate and also championship rival Tim Tramnitz, who's also still in the mix on this championship fight. Of course, as I said before, twice a winner at Barcelona this season, won race 1 and race 2. Lawrence Van Hoopen in behind now as well, looking to try and give chase onto Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And they come in towards the next chicane now. Very, very fast-paced indeed as they come through the Le Hotel section. And then Virage du Camp after this one. Of course, exiting under turn 5, and then turn 6, entering sector 2, and then through the Saint-Pan bends, and then in towards the Mistral straight. There we see Antonelli there with Lawrence Van Hoopen watching all over the rear. The cars are settling down now into an orderly fashion. Of course, it was a very helter-skelter beginning to this race as well, and certainly lots of overtaking opportunities. Plenty of the drivers have alluded to that fact as well. Plenty of spaces to utilise the push-to-pass system. Many of the drivers will retain one of those push-to-passes, you'd imagine, as well, to allow for a defence come towards the end of this race. Now, this is the replay. Now, that, in fact, I believe, that is Joshua Dirksen, I think, further back, who has come together. And that was with the Santalot racing car, number 33, belonging to Lucas Medina, further back as well. Just a little moment there for Lucas Medina, who's now got to try and recover. It looked like it was the tail fin on Dirksen's car. In fact, I think it was actually, it might have been his teammate, in fact, further up. It might have been Levente Ravesh who was coming together with him on that occasion. So there we go. Ravesh trying to fight back and certainly gain places. A lot of work to do, though, here at this point as we see the cars, they make their way around, and indeed, I think it was Ravesh. Medina dropped down to 28th place as a result of that coming together. Fastest lap for Alessandro Giusti, as he now sets himself on his way down through towards turn 1. Megatunif in second. They're in behind Stenshorn as well. Andrea Kimi Antonelli still keeping Laurens van Hoopen at bay, the Italian, after winning in his home race at Mugello last time out. Would very much like to add a race win, Paul Ricard, to his list as well. It would do wonders for his championship charge, obviously. Not a major gain for Stenshorn should it stay like this in terms of the championship point scenario, but it still is more points ahead of Antonelli. Remember, they come into this weekend, 2 points is all that separates them as they head down the Mistral Straight yet again. It's still in front, Giusti. There is Lorenzo Flucher, just making his way down the straight, chasing after Maya Verk, who has been absolutely sensational this season. And especially in a rookie championship charge as well, as we know, see the cars come through the Mistral chicane. And it's still Giusti, and certainly with 12 minutes and 40 on a warm day such as this, applies a lot of pressure to the drivers here. Cruising through the next right now, there's Tim Tramnitz there in 4th as well. There is, of course, the MP Motorsport car being donned by Victor Bernier. Being hunted down still by Michael Belov in behind as well, with Rafael Camara not far behind either. He's been working to garner a few places himself. As they hurtle through again. There's Maya Verk there as well, further back there's Flucher. In behind him, Esteban Masson, getting very closer as well to the back. Is Kaz Havercourt, who's trying to recover the places that he's lost as well. Remember, losing 2 places since the start of this race. Now cruising through towards the final bend at turn 15, he's got it all to do. Masson might get a chance to fight back here. Of course, would love nothing more than to get past that of Lorenzo Flucher, as the string of cars now head down through towards turn 1. It's still Giusti, who's actually marshalled the gap now of 1.1 seconds, has in fact laid down the fastest first sector on that previous lap, setting a 2:06.73 to boot. So a very impressive showing. But Sami Megatunif still holding the fastest lap of the race so far. But in terms of race management, Alessandro Giusti just doing that little bit better in terms of marshalling that deficit. But there's still a long way to go. 11 minutes and 20, plus the 1 lap. And the RSGP team in their home race currently sitting in 3rd and 4th as well. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli breathing down their necks, with Laurens van Hoopen 0.5 of a second in behind. Victor Bernier now 1.1 seconds off the back of Laurens van Hoopen, which will help certainly Michael Belov should he want to try and make a challenge, because of course breaking away from that slipstream will not help Bernier one iota. Giusti again putting another 10th on Megatunif there in behind as well. Stenshorn also dropping back 1.4 off Megatunif, and that could allow yet Tim Tramnitz to come in and join the fight, as well as perhaps adding in Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who could yet drag in Laurens van Hoopen. So there could still be a very big fight for the final podium places. As we now see them crawl through the final sector, Laurens van Hoopen having a stellar return here as well. Of course, historically a very staunch contender in this championship. Scooped up an almighty 10 points at Hungaroring. We went racing in race 2 there on that occasion. Scored points in both races at Barcelona, in race 1 and 2 as well. 1 in race 1, 2 in race 2. And is looking certainly for better times here at ART, of course. They had a fantastic season last year, and are well known to produce great quality talents as well here, as we now see, a Santalot car running very wide. Now that looked to me like it was Esteban Masson again. That's not the first time he's done that, and that could leave him open to a challenge here from Kaz Havercourt, who is on the outside of him here as well. Could yet be a challenge for 12th place here between the two, and Masson has done himself no favours whatsoever, going off very wide at that portion of the track, and that could yet allow the likes of Nikhil Bora and Owen Tangavelu to come in and fight it out to essentially take the place away from Masson in that 12th spot. Not sure whether Havercourt has managed to pull that off or not, but certainly that will affect the gaps, and certainly I think Havercourt might have had his number here. As the cars now hustle down the straight. It's Alessandro Giusti still out in front though. The gap, though, has been brought in. Megatunif has brought it down to 9/10 of a second. Stenshorn now out to 1.8 in behind that of Megatunif. And now with 8 minutes 55 to go, Giusti could be on the precipice of a historic race win here for himself as well, and his very first of his campaign, certainly here in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. A very competitive grid lineup with some very fantastic talents, certainly the stars of the future when it comes to single-seater racing. And without any doubt in anyone's mind, I'm sure that there'll be more eyes cast upon that of Alessandro Giusti, especially after the hardships of FP2, where he was upended after coming together with Enzo Scianti. As Antonelli now rounds the next left, Lawrence Van Hoopen as well, getting closer and closer, 0.7 now between them as they head through the final sectors still all in tandem as well. Masson has managed to keep Havercourt at bay for the time being. There's Megatunif, who we're currently seeing on screen. He's now about to begin yet another lap as well. His teammate Victor Bernier in behind Lawrence Van Hoopen. You can just see him in the rear shot. There is Antonelli. 7 minutes 53 to go. And at this point, it's the French F4 winner and last season's champion in that series as well, who's just taken the fastest lap of the race and could be on the precipice of his first Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine race win at his home track of all places, and a historic result as well for G4 Racing, who I'm sure will be delighted. Adrian Munoz, of course, the team principal, the team boss for the team, obviously delighted, I'm sure, with the performance that he's seeing from his drivers this weekend. But Giusti still has a bit of work to do. 7 minutes and still 15 to go after this, plus the one lap. Giusti still trying to marshal the deficit. 1.3 now is the gap. And it has sprung outwards. Remember, he was within a second, Sami Megatunif, but it has gone out again. And despite being one of the fastest drivers in the speed trap, Sami Megatunif, he still isn't the fastest man on track. In fact, Alessandro Giusti stole the fastest lap of the race, remember, last time out. So if he can hold that, I tell you what, that pace could prove all the more vital come towards the end of this race. Now, Stenshorn, who we can see in the background, now seeing Tramnitz get closer and closer to him. Well, Antonelli still in fifth. Just waiting for his chance to pounce, I think, obviously, at this point. Been sat in behind Tim Tramnitz's R-Race GP car, because he would have captured a full view of that at Barcelona when these two came together in that scrap at the very front. Of course, Antonelli would try and get the advantage off the start-finish line, wasn't able to do so, and was giving chase all the way in both races, but he'll be back without any shadow of a doubt. So we don't see Megatunif make his way through this next right now, of course, delivering certainly in superlatives here for MP Motorsport. A P2 here would be a fantastic result for the team. I'm sure that they'll have to chase for greater ambitions. He's already taken a fastest lap this season, as well as a podium. As I alluded to, this could be his second podium of the season, should he bring it home. A leading rookie as well, as you can see from the classifications up at the sharp end. Still Alessandro Giusti leading them through again against that of the rookie championship leader, Martini Stenshorn, currently sat third overall. As other cars come through now, out to the next fast left-hander. They're in sector 2 proper, and the gap now between Megatunif and that of Stenshorn now 1.8 seconds between that pairing as well. Kaz Havercourt finding improvements in his laps too, trying to get closer to Lorenzo Flusha, has 1.8 to find against him. Fantastic performance though. Maya Verklo losing a little bit of time to Rafael Camara, but she's done well to get into the top 10. And a rookie P3 performance as well, which I'm sure she'll be pleased about. There's now Andrea Kimi Antonelli. We just see him exited now the middle chicane out of the Mistral Straight. And now Kimi going to work indeed on the delta between him and Tim Tramnitz. He certainly needs to. Has been up against it since lap 8, lap 9 and lap 10. You can just see the negative delta there. Just advancing that gap in between him and Tim Tramnitz, but on the last lap he's bringing it back in. Now 1.2 between Tramnitz and Stenshorn, but Andrea Kimi Antonelli's within a second. and could yet pounce on any opportunity. Fourth place would still give him some serious points, as we now see in the cars make their way through the final sector. There's Stenshorn, who's in fact broken away clear from Tim Tramnitz, as I said, 1.2. So that will give Stenshorn a little bit of relief here. But hand, obviously, a chance to Andrea Kimi Antonelli as we come into the final 4 minutes of this race. Giusti now still out in front. 1.6 to 1.7 seconds is the lead advantage. Fastest lap once again, this time for Giusti. Incredible. Certainly a 2:00.206 going to the young Frenchman. And here's a replay. Oh, and a spin. And that's Santiago Ramos, who has gone off there as well. A major moment heading through the Scene corner. And the RPM car, as a result, now has to try and recover. And again, going off the back of going fastest in the collective test 2. Or sorry, collective test 1, and then to all of a sudden find himself off the track at a very sensitive point during the race is less than ideal. And certainly now will have to regather himself and fight back. That'll certainly put him at a major disadvantage for the rest of this race. And as a result, he's down to 31st place for RPM, and certainly has been one of the storied members of the RPM team this season. Has delivered many a good result in what has been a splendid season for RPM. 4th in the championship as they come into this round at Paul Ricard. Has already taken a podium this season, has Santiago Ramos, also taken a fastest lap to boot as well. We now see them round this final sector yet again. Only a handful of laps now remain. This is crunch time. This is, of course, when they have to ask the big questions, obviously utilise the push to pass where necessary. The drivers once again coming together. Michael Belov, who's got Rafael Camara right behind him within 0.6 of a second, and closing in on the 5/10 gap as well. The Brazilian is going to launch a charge and try and bring himself higher up the order to join his teammate Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Moyerberg as well in the midst of this, still holding on to that P10 with Lorenzo Flusha in behind by only half a second. As now across the line Giusti goes, and again sprints clear. You just see that gap, 2.5 seconds separating Giusti and Megatunov. Incredible performance here from the young Frenchman. And could this be the cork in the bottle? Has he opened it up? Has he now given himself a major boost heading in towards the rest of the season? We of course got plenty of rounds to come up after this race weekend. We take a trip to Red Bull Ring next, as well as Monza, as well as Zandvoort, not to mention Hockenheim for the very first time in this championship's history. And now with Giusti taking them through yet again in the dying minutes, it certainly will be an emphatic display from the young man. Megatunov 2.5 seconds in behind. Martinius Stenshorn in 3rd place as well. That gap now between Megatunov and Giusti has gone over the 2.5 seconds as well. Further back, we're seeing some comings together because, of course, the Prema cars are trying to gain all the more. Flusha on Veog is now trying to make a muscle his way through as well. And just look at this as well. Belov coming under pressure from Rafael Camara. This was the battle we saw in the distance heading up through towards the Mistral chicane. And look at this. They're now being dragged over to the outside as we now see the car belonging to none other than Sami Megatunov holding on to 2nd place. Still has Stenshorn trying to cruise up on him here. Further back, Belov, though, under increasing pressure from Rafael Camara, heading in towards the final sector here. 25 seconds remain, plus the 1 lap. Enter now Camara, who had a look round the inside, heading through the latter sector. And certainly as they peeled their way through, it looked like he might have asked enough questions to make that necessary overtake. But coming out of Bousset into Bend or Bend, wasn't quite able to harness that overtake. But still, nonetheless, it does put certainly no doubt Michael Belov on tenterhooks heading into the latter stages of this race. Giusti is about to take them round. Surely, could this be the final lap of the race now? And certainly I think it will be. Giusti now heading down now towards turn 1. It is the final lap of the race, and Michael Belov under pressure now from Rafael Camara, who could very soon be shortly elevating himself from 9th here in this classification to a very possible 8th place. They come through turn 1, turn 2 as well. The Brazilian dialed in as he tries to look for every which way possible, every apex possible to unlock that additional delta to hopefully launch a challenge down the long straight at the Mistral as they now couple through now. Turns 3 and 4 out of the Hotel bend. He's now got Virage du Camp as well, hooking it around, takes a wider line but then tighter on the inset as they now hurtle through the Virage de la Saint-Baume, now through towards the next straight at the Mistral as now they do so. You can just see them opening up the car now. Does he have any push to pass left? Can he utilise anything to try and get closer and closer to the back of Michael Belov's car? Of course, the Prema driver would love nothing more than to make a crucial overtake. You can just see there, Belov going slightly defensive. Kamara now goes on the outside. Defensive there from Belov, and it will cost him a little bit of time on the exit of the Mistral chicane now. Kamara looking to fight back again now as he takes the curbs again, goes aggressive, tries to look to the outside. Very defensive here from Michael Belov as they now look to sprint. Now heading in towards Seaton Corner. This will tee up a run, heading in towards the Bousset. Rafael Kamara side by side now between the pair. Respectful racing, brilliant racing. It's Rafael Kamara. He moves himself higher up the order. 8th place now at the expense of Michael Belov. What a fight between two accomplished drivers in this series. And the Brazilian now moving his way up the order in the top 10 and has done so in emphatic style. Great stuff indeed from the Prema, but what can we say about the man leading the way here in this particular race? The final lap has certainly become upon us, and Alessandro Giusti, for the very first time, he's going to come down the final straight, he's going to come up to the line, he's going to take the checkered flag and take a first historic win in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. He wins his home race here. It's a French lockout in the front two. Sami Megatunov comes home second, with Martinius Stenshorn taking the final podium place in P3. And not only that, Giusti also takes his very first rookie race win of his career as well. What a stellar showing from the young man, and I'm sure he'll treasure that one time and time again. Was delighted after his qualifying performance. A superb result for G4 Racing, and Adrian Munoz and the team, I'm sure, are absolutely thrilled with that showing. Absolutely incredible. The F4 Academy FSA driver who would go on to take 2 wins that season in 2021 with 5 podiums. French F4 champion as well in 2022 with 2 wins and 12 podiums as well. One of the consistent faces of that championship that season. And he has now since come back here and taken a race win. Here is the provisional results, folks. And it's Alessandro Giusti and G4 Racing. They win here and take the rookie race win as well. Sami Megatunov second, Martinius Stenshorn third, Tim Tramnitz in fourth, Andrea Kimi Antonelli in fifth, Lawrence Van Hoopen in sixth, with Victor Bernier seventh, Rafael Kamara in eighth, Michael Belov in ninth, Maya Verg in 10th place, Lorenzo Flusha in 11th, Kats Havercourt 12th, Esteban Masson 13th, Nico Bora 14th, Owen Tangavelu finished in 15th place. Then Marcus Amann in 16th with Tom Leben in 17th, Joshua Dirksen in 18th place with Kirill Smal in 19th, Roman Belinsky in 20th, Matteo Capietto in 21st, but Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 22nd, Joshua Dufek 23rd, Matthias Zagazeta in 24th, Levente Ravesh in 25th, Pierre-Alexandre Provost, unfortunately becoming unseated earlier on, and fortunately dropped down the field in 26th, Giovanni Maschio in 27th. Further down the grid though, we did lose one car. Niels Kuhlen finished last of the running, well certainly last of the cars after being evicted out of the race earlier on. Charlie Wirtz at the tail end of the field as well. But what a tremendous result for that man Alessandro Giusti, coming into the championship. He's got his maiden win of his Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine career, and what a future he certainly has. Certainly one of the highlights in his career so far, I'm sure. Despite being the French F4 champion, it's always ideal to make that crucial step up, and has done so brilliantly, and has adapted to this championship fantastically as well, and is hoping for yet more brilliant performances. And we saw a thumbs up from him earlier on to the crowds here in France. The south coast, of course, very warm here this weekend, but it hasn't stopped that man. Alessandro Giusti, who has taken some really serious points this season, came into this weekend with 7 points to his name, most of them being scored at Imola. He has since scored one at Mugello as well in race 1, but he's just scored himself an abundance of points here this weekend. and has certainly added his own win tally to the table as well. And could there be more in the offing for this young man? We can only imagine as we see the cars come into the pit lane. But it's going to be two French drivers up at the sharp end. Of course, Sami Megatounev, as I said, also second. And that's a very important result for MP Motorsport, who have had their own struggles and certainly own difficulties in recent weeks, and hardships and tragedies as well. And I'm sure yes, certainly does. That's for Delano, he says.
You did an amazing job.
That means a lot to the team. You just see the raw emotion in amongst the members of that camp as well at MP Motorsport. Martinius Stenshorn, it's a podium, but I'm sure he would have wanted more. I think he'll look back at the start and wonder what more he could have achieved after just losing it slightly. But
shame for the start.
We just heard it there, shame for the start.
Go away yourself.
I think that's the going assessment, I think, of that one. But still, nonetheless, I think he can be pleased with what he's achieved. A great effort from Martinius Stenshorn again, and still finishing ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. In terms of the championship, that could prove very much vital. Alessandro Giusti having some issues in getting his car into Parc Fermé, I think. Or I think he might just be waiting for some traffic before he can then take his place on the P1 spot for the first time in his career in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. What a proud moment it'll be for him as well, and G4 Racing. This will be their first podium of the season as a team, and a first race win as well as a result. And you can just hear the cheers, the French fans delighted as Alessandro Giusti comes into Parc Fermé, taking up the winner's position here as well. And what more could be on the table for this young man? Stands on top of the car. He will celebrate a race win here at Paul Ricard. And immediately go onwards to his team and celebrate a truly terrific performance and a fantastic win. And that's a nice picture, isn't it? And indeed, yeah, racing for Delano, as all these drivers are one big family here at this series. But let's take a look at the replay of the race as well. Here are the highlights, and Alessandro Giusti got a fantastic launch. The same could not be said, though, for Martinius Stenshorn, who was swamped up by that of Sami Megatounev, who jumped on him at the start, heading in towards turn one. Having the sharper inside line gave Sami Megatounev the huge opportunity to successfully move his way into the top two. It was then down to Stenshorn to try and defend his position at the very get-go. Did manage to do so. Tramnitz will also come under attack from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. These two, who obviously know each other oh so well from previous rounds, including Barcelona. Of course, at this time, Antonelli unfortunately having to give way. We saw a couple of cars coming together as well. Niels Coulin unfortunately came unstuck. Charlie Wirtz also coming unstuck as well during the course of the race. There's the incident involving that of Enzo Scianti, and that as well of Niels Coulin. Unfortunately ended the race of Niels Coulin as well. Scianti coming in for a change of wing. And when we got back underway under the safety car, Tramnitz and Antonelli, as well as Lawrence Van Hoopen, would come together as well. Van Hoopen unable to keep Antonelli at bay. Again, more attacking coming through the final sectors as well. We also saw a major moment as we also saw car number 11 belonging to Levente Ravesh coming together with the Santalok racing car as well. But it was a huge fight as well in the midfield, and they're coming together as well for Santiago Ramos and Marcus Amand when they went around the very fast scene corner. That brought certainly an end to a tricky race to him as well. And we saw as well a dynamic overtake there from Rafael Camara, who gave it everything in his fight against that of Michael Belov. A stunning display on the final lap that certainly gave us and the viewers and you guys at home a treat. But certainly coming up across the line, a historic race win as Alessandro Giusti would take the first win of his season here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and of his career as well. He was absolutely thrilled and certainly celebrated with the rest of the crowds watching on in an abundance. The Frenchman has won it in France. Well, taking third place up on the podium is Martinius Stenshorn. And you can just see the sweat on his back. No surprises given the conditions here this weekend. P2 going to Sami Megatounev, and the French again applaud this young man and the MP Motorsport team as well. This one means a lot to them. And it's Alessandro Giusti, race winner for the first time in this series. The Frenchman wins at a French track. And we have the representative as well from the G4 Racing team, Eduardo.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the anthem from France.
Now we have the anthem from France.
Merci beaucoup, un grand bravo.
Well, there we go. A fantastic result, certainly for Alessandro Giusti. They will be accepting the trophies now shortly as well. First of all, Martini Estenshorn laying claim to the third place trophy. Not winning the rookie one though this time. That would go to a different rookie driver this time around. Sami Megatunov accepts the second place trophy for himself and also the MP Motorsport team. A big day for them. But Alessandro Giusti, a big day for him, no doubt, as well. Winning overall, but he would also go on to win the rookie trophy as well. The team at G4 Racing would also gladly accept this one. A fantastic result for them. And they're first of the campaign as well. Could be more to come. And Alessandro Giusti laying claim to that second trophy for the rookie classification as well. What an occasion. And certainly, folks, it's been a pleasure bringing you all the action this weekend. Join us back again tomorrow when we have qualifying in the morning and racing action again in the afternoon. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
For the photo, champagne and applause, fellows. Des applaudissements, s'il vous plaît, pour nos trois champions protagonistes. C'est champagne, c'est sympa, mais par contre, en termes d'olfactif, c'est pas la même. Ah, je voudrais vous entendre sur la partie basse, je ne vous ai pas entendu. I want to hear you one more time, please, ladies and gentlemen. Pour le Formula